Okay, so because yesterday YouTube kept cutting me off at 4 minutes, but it seemed to be fixed this morning when I was doing nothing at all, I'm just going to start off this live stream mentioning all the like COVID-19 words and we'll see if they cut me off again. If they don't, then maybe this is working and we can confidently live stream going forward. But yeah, so COVID-19, coronavirus, pandemic, Wuhan, World Health Organization, WHO, Chinese Communist Party, shutdown, lockdown, vaccine. What are some other coronavirus words? I don't know. I'm sure that's enough for YouTube to pick it up. So we'll just sort of wait and see if they shut me down. Because yeah, that was heaps frustrating yesterday. Trying to live stream, thinking I was being careful, and then 4 minutes in, it cut off my live stream. But they restored all those live stream clips. So, you know, that like after I appealed. So obviously, you know, someone's realized that the algorithm or whatever it is messed it up. So yeah, there was nothing violating in any of those live streams. So I'm gonna guess it's a glitch. This morning, I also just live streamed about 8 minutes of, you know, my wall not saying anything. I'm sure there was background noise. I didn't actually watch it back, but it was just to see if we could get past that 4-minute mark. And yeah, by the time it got up to 8 minutes, I was like, yeah, okay, it's working. So, because yeah, last night when I was trying to live stream, it was just cutting me off arbitrarily. And so I thought if this morning doing nothing, it also cut me off, then there's an issue with their thing. But no, it seems to be fixed. But now that I've mentioned all the coronavirus words, we'll see in another 2 minutes if they cut me off. Yeah. But I'm thinking, like, if they let me say all those words at the beginning of the stream and they don't cut me off, then that's a sign that maybe it's fixed now and we can talk. Because the thing is, I don't want to start a live stream where we're having a great conversation and then just because I said the wrong word, it gets cut off. You know, that would be pretty annoying and frustrating if, like, you know, we're right in the middle of a good conversation and then bam. So yeah, another 2 minutes to see if they're gonna do it again. And if we pass that, then yay. As for like, if we do get past that point, do I keep live streaming? Maybe. We've just sort of we've come out of daylight savings in Sydney, so I got an extra hour of sleep last night, which was good. But I feel like I shouldn't stay up late. I should get into a better sleeping pattern, but you know, I know me, it's probably not going to happen. Hello to whoever's just joined, feel free to leave a comment. I'm just waiting to see if they cut off my live stream like they did yesterday. That was a bit of a mess. So we've got another minute. If we survive another minute, I think we'll be okay. In the meantime, I'll just stall for time and we'll see what happens. I'm sort of reluctant to go into any big conversation about anything because, yeah, if we get started and they cut me off, not any fun. But yeah, I don't know, we'll see. Another minute. Because, yeah, with YouTube, they have told us that, like, because they can't get as many human reviewers, that the AI would go a little bit crazy, but it just went a little bit too crazy when I was trying to live stream yesterday. So, getting closer to the 4-minute mark, and we'll see if we survive, or if I get eaten by the AI. If I get eaten, I'm not coming back though, I'll just find another way to do this. Okay, 4 minutes. Are they going to cut me off? Let's see. I'm still live for now. Okay, I think we might have survived. I'll just see. Let me just check the live streams I did yesterday. So the longest we got to yesterday before they cut me off was 4 minutes 19, 4:26. Okay, I think we're good, guys. I think we can actually live stream. So if you're just tuning in, or yeah, if you're just tuning in, I just mentioned a whole bunch of like coronavirus words to see if the AI would, you know, shut me down, and they haven't so far. So yeah, yesterday they were just cutting me off for no reason. Even when I mentioned nothing to do with coronavirus, they shut me down. So I'm going to put it down to an AI glitch, and now that seems to be fixed. Yippee! Did they? I also like I sent them feedback through all the things. So like when you get your live stream cut down, they send you emails. If you looked in my community tab, there's like a really tiny screenshot of it. Um, yeah, when they cut off your live stream, they send that email. So it has a button to appeal, and I appealed every single live stream that they shut me down on. I also went into the feedback tab in YouTube Studio. And sent them feedback there that the AI was playing up. And then I also went on Twitter and tweeted Team YouTube, and yeah, they just said appeal. And like, yeah, of course, it's that sort of generic message. But hey, we are 5 minutes in and it's still working. That's awesome. So I guess we can live stream now, guys. That's cool. Yeah, hello. So now we know that they didn't cut me off for saying coronavirus words. Cross fingers, they could still cut me off at any moment. Okay, cool. So, yeah, last night's live stream was a bit of a mess because I think I was just sort of frazzled. Because after we failed at YouTube 3 times, I moved it over to Facebook, and Facebook is a little bit weird because my audience is different, and the way the Facebook works, I've never live streamed on Facebook before, and it was just a little bit odd. And like it tells you when your actual friends jump online and are watching you, and I found that a little bit awkward because like I kind of compartmentalize my online life a bit. So YouTube, you know, I have you guys on YouTube, and that's the other weird thing. On Facebook, it has everyone's real names, and so like I know some of the real names of some of you guys who watch, but there are some who I don't. But for the ones that I do know your real names versus your usernames, that was just super weird, like because it comes up with your real name. I'm like, do I use your YouTube name or your real name here? I would just rather us all be on YouTube, and then I can use YouTube names because that's a bit more familiar. Yeah, that was super weird. And so I was a little bit frazzled. I had like ideas of what I wanted to live stream about, and then yeah, like trying to figure out how do I live stream on Facebook. And then it was a little bit earlier, so people were still walking around. One of my brothers is still awake, and that's a bit, hey, how's it going? So we're actually on YouTube, and it's working, and I've already said all the COVID-19 words, and they haven't cut me off. So yeah, I think we're good today. Yeah, I don't want to live stream on Facebook. The other thing is like, so YouTube is like more of my online friends, whereas Facebook, even though it was my artist page, a lot of people who know me in real life are on that page as well, and that was really bizarre. Because yeah, I just, with like my real life friends, I talk more naturally, whereas on YouTube, because it's to a camera, like you kind of have to say things a little bit differently. And it doesn't work on Sunday. Hey, maybe. That's kind of funny to think about, hey. So yeah, they're real religious. Oh my gosh, you know, here in Sydney, or in Australia, you can't go to church at the moment, but what they're doing for Easter, is like, they're sort of considering churches and stuff like a workplace, so all the priests and whatever can get together and they can film it, but no one can actually, none of the like churchgoers can go. They have to watch on the live stream, but the priests can gather in greater numbers and yeah, not worry too, like, I think they still have to social distance a little bit, but they can have more people within the building than you're supposed to have. I don't know. What was that? Hello, New South Wales state election analysis lady. Oh my gosh. Yeah, that was a while ago. Hey, they had to arrest a pastor in Florida for holding services. Oh yeah. I think in America maybe the rules are a bit more confusing, like different states have different rules. But yeah, here in Sydney, well, in Australia, I think it's like, don't go to church, but the priests and all those people can still run the service and just live stream it or whatever. Yeah, oh my gosh, the state election, that was last year. Hey, last year feels like so long ago. Now, oh, it's probably a good thing we're not in an election year here in Sydney. Like, you know, America with like, this is that, the big election year, and just trying to run like any kind of campaigning in this world event, it just seems crazy, especially because those big conventions are such a big deal for American elections. It's not really a thing here so much, but yeah. No, so I think what I wanted to talk about last night, everything's crazy, but oh. Yeah. So, how do I pronounce that? Political Biden versus Trump. Oh my god, two old men. It's all an enormous waste of money. Yeah, I don't know. I don't understand the American system. It's very strange to me. It's enough just to try and keep up with local politics. I've tried to disengage from local politics since it's not election time. Doesn't every old man have like some kind of allegation these days? But yeah, no, it is kind of like, I was a bit like, when all the young guys started dropping out of the American election, I was like, oh, here we go again. You know, I just feel like they need someone a bit new and, you know, not so boring. Not Bernie. Oh, well, I think Bernie would be a very hard sell, so I can see why the Democrats have that strategy, because America's so paranoid about the whole socialism thing, and Bernie is pretty radical for America. America's very capitalist. Try to live in your own world. Yeah. Yeah, like you can tell how capitalist, like there's varying degrees of capitalism, and there's some where it works really well. Like capitalism has really lifted a lot of people out of poverty and improved lifestyles and so on. But I think in America it's too capitalist. Trump was pretty radical. Yeah, well, I mean, Hillary was a bit boring, right? They went for the interesting one, you know? Yeah. But also, like, America's system's so weird, the way everything adds up, and yeah, no, I just feel like it sort of sets up for disaster. Whoever have those pretty scourgy. Yeah, it's just crazy. And, like, I think this is one of my theories. We're well off topic coronavirus and stuff. But, one of my theories about why Australia hasn't gone too crazy, I mean, yes, we've been through a whole bunch of prime ministers, but I think the reason we don't get, like, say, Clive Palmer winning, you know, he was that sort of rich dude trying to buy his way into power. I think the reason that kind of person isn't so successful in Australia is because the vote is compulsory, which is easier to do with our smaller population, gotta say. But because everyone has to vote, it means those smaller, weird special interest groups can't take over an election. Like, if it... Well, yeah, we don't have the presidential system either, but I think, like, you know, if you have people who have a special interest, they have like a particular way that they're very passionate about, those people are definitely going to vote because they're passionate, right? Whereas if you have the rest of Aussies who are like, she'll be right, mate, you know, no worries, we just stay home, and then the people who are passionate about their crazy idea win. French Revolution solutions to politicians and the rich don't pay their taxes. Oh my gosh. I don't know, like, French Revolution makes me think of monarchy, right? And I'm not one of those people who would push for Australia to become a republic, just because I feel like there's a risk we would go for a more American system, and I feel like the Queen doesn't even do anything. She can't even sign anything into law because, like, legally the Governor General, I think, has to do that. So, like, one time she came here and they tried to get her to sign a law and she couldn't do it because, like, she actually doesn't have that much power. She's just a symbol, a bit like the Japanese emperor is just a symbol. And I think our system works reasonably well, like, no one gets carried away with power, so... we don't actually want to kill politicians. Some people do. I don't know how to spell it. Oh, are you saying you don't know how to spell fair dinkum? Because that's how you spell it. Yeah. No, I think Australia's system's alright. Monarchy, democracy. Yeah, like, the monarchy is just a symbol, and the Governor General is, like, a symbol, you know, it's really the people we actually elect who are doing all the stuff. And, like, I know some people would rather vote for a leader directly, but I feel like it's probably better if they can all stab each other in the back when, like, sentiment goes bad. Decent analysis of the New South Wales state election. This is the amount I went through it. Yeah. Yeah, that I've never done anything like that before. It's just like I was seeing a lot of my friends, like I'm kind of have that weird speak for yourself, sure. How to read what we say. Um, yeah, I've sort of grew up in a more conservative kind of family, but because I'm a musician, artist kind of person, my social circles are more left wing, I guess. Um, and so a lot of my friends were confused and upset. The rest of your channel is music. Well, would you really call it a music channel? I have emphasized the music stuff and put them up the top when you first visit my channel, but I also do like fashion videos, which I don't know how I turned into that kind of a chick, but apparently I am now. And then I do a lot of random vlogs, and I've got like my Alienware I've still got to do. Music at least from, yeah, I'm at my punk from over the hill, tired revolution, I think music. Yeah, so my channel is more just chaos. It's like whatever I feel like doing at the time. Yeah, I would say I'm the black sheep in the family. But yeah, no, my channel is definitely chaos. And at the moment, a bit more chaos than usual because I just haven't been able to concentrate. Because like the coronavirus thing, like I was saying in the Facebook stream yesterday, going on a loop. So, I'm a sort of an introvert, and I get so distracted by all the comments, right? But yeah, no, I did the New South Wales state election analysis because yeah, a lot of my left-leaning friends were kind of shocked that the Liberals would still win, and very confused about a lot of stuff, and I was just like, maybe this will help my friends. And then yeah, it turned out a lot of people wanted some answers on that as well. That's because they were kind of brain dead on, very much agree with. It's coming from a Labour voter, but yeah. What do you think of the new chick though? I don't think. Oh, okay. What's PT stand for? It's been a while since I've even thought about that election. But yeah, the new chick, right? The new Labour New South Wales leader. I don't think she has much chance. Oh, public transport. President of Murdoch media played a role. Yeah, I don't know about that. I mean, yeah, Jodie's her name, right? Yeah, okay. So the thing about this is me being like one of those stereotyping people, but when I look at her, all I see is that I'd like to speak to the manager meme. And I feel like anytime she's on TV, she's just complaining and she's not really giving like solutions. And I think it's going to take a lot of work for her to, if she's going to stand a chance at the next state election. And Gladys, I think Gladys will benefit a bit from, like, I actually don't disagree with everything, despite being a musician. I have family who work in, like, medicine and so on, so I've heard both sides of, like, lockout laws, for example. But you can watch that in that video if you want to know all that discussion, because it was a while ago. But Gladys, sort of a conflicted figure for me. There's some stuff I agree with, some stuff I disagree with. I don't really have any strong. Yeah, I'm a bit much of a centrist, but I think that's just from where I sit, because like family more on the right, friends more on the left, and I'm listening to both, and I'm like, oh, okay, I can see where you've got a point here and there, and I can see where also things don't make sense here and there, and so it's a bit hard for me to make up my mind. But I think with Gladys, I think for the most part, not everything, but for the most part, I think she's doing okay handling, our coronavirus response. And, there have been screw-ups and things, but I think probably overall she'll get a boost from that because I think you're definitely seeing it in America, right? Yeah, well, you're seeing it in America, okay? So Trump, I think his poll numbers have gone up. I haven't really looked into it, but I think his poll numbers have gone up, and well, the Ruby Princess, they're doing an investigation, and like what Channel 7 was doing that whole thing where they're like, oh, here's all the stuff. And I'm like, how can you even make a program when there's still an investigation going on? Like, you can't really comment on it at the moment. Let the investigation go through. Yeah, so this is the point about the polls going up, right? Okay, everyone's polls have gone up because there is a crisis, and I think, like, I'm not a political scientist or anything, but I think when there's a crisis, as long as the leader isn't completely shit. I mean, Trump is pretty bad, but yeah, well, I think that's because Trump is a bit of an idiot, so he's had a bump, but maybe not as big as other ones. But that's what another thing about Gladys, right? She is the premier through the coronavirus thing, so she would get a bump. And if Jody isn't, if she doesn't really pick up her game, she's not going to win. And you can see, like, there are some other reasons that I mentioned in that long video. So if you're interested in that, maybe go back and watch more of it. But yeah, I don't think she at the moment has much chance. Yeah. So that, you know, regardless of my personal opinion, you've got to look at, like, what everyone else, like, you know, you've got to try and imagine what the general population is going to do rather than what you want to happen. Germany, France, yeah, well, he's been flip-flopping like a bloody fish, hasn't he? He's an interesting figure to watch, and I'm worried for some of my friends in America. But you know, cross fingers, they're young and healthy, and I think they'll be okay. But it's going to be interesting to see how this goes, because it's not just about the illness; it's about the economic impacts as well. But yeah, so I'm guessing you're from New South Wales as well, possibly Sydney. But yeah, I think Gladys been handling pretty shit. How did she have let the Ruby? Well, see, I think the Ruby Princess issue, I mean, there's an investigation going on at the moment, so I don't want to say too much, but I think what's happening is there was some serious miscommunication and a lot of people dropped the ball at the same time. That's generally how things go wrong. It's not usually just one person when it's a mistake. Mentally incapable. I don't even know how you... but lots of money can cover that up. Oh dear, oh dear. The Liberals meant to be the anti-boat party. Yeah, but cruises are for mostly wealthy old people, and I think that's also possibly why they're doing so badly with coronavirus, because older people going on cruises, they're already more susceptible. There are some statistics to suggest that if you're a little bit overweight, you're more likely to die from coronavirus, and people on cruises do eat a lot. Also, like, males are apparently more susceptible, but both men and women go on cruises. I won't blame Gladys in particular, but more so Liberal government as a collective. No, I think it was, I mean, let them figure out, because some people are now saying that the boat, what do you call them? You know, the officials on the Ruby Princess didn't communicate that they had an issue and stuff, and, like, you know, it's going to be interesting to see how that investigation happens. I don't know, cruise in 2019. Yeah, I went on one cruise, and it's not my thing. There's too many people, and like, you know, some of these cruise boats have amazing things on board. Like, you can do the skydiving thing we did. Shit, I still haven't posted that video. Usually reduces your respiratory symptoms. Twofold is it then the government is the one regulating ships which come in and which do. Yeah, but see, did I tell you guys my parents were on a cruise and they came in maybe the day after the Ruby Princess? When was that? Let me just have a look. I think they came in the day after the Ruby Princess, but see, they were on a domestic cruise, right? So they didn't go to any other countries. And I think with the Ruby Princess, they didn't actually get to New Zealand either. So technically that's a domestic cruise as well, and then they didn't put as much scrutiny on those as international cruises that had been to other countries. And so my parents were not told to isolate until like 10 days later, when one person who had been on their ship tested positive in Tasmania, and then after another day or so the word went out that they all had to self-isolate, but they'd already been here for 10 days just fine. And yeah, so, like, they stayed home, I went and did errands for them and all that, but they were fine. My dad, he has, like, hay fever and stuff, so he's been coughing and so on, and so he got tested actually twice and came back negative both times. But yeah, so, like, with the cruise ships, it's a little bit more complicated than just we should test everyone kind of thing. I think the issue with the Ruby Princess is they did have people with flu-like symptoms, and it sounds like maybe they haven't reported it properly, or maybe there have been mixed messages and miscommunications between Border Force, the Ruby Princess, the state authorities, the federal, like it's complicated with cruise ships. And if there was just this huge miscommunication, if you've ever watched like air crash investigation, it's never one thing that goes wrong. It's like a series of events. And if someone had caught one thing at the right time, it wouldn't have happened. And that often happens with these things. So I'd personally wait for the investigation to go through before I like point fingers, because we don't know exactly what happened. The media will love to speculate. Let me catch up on comments. The quarantine almost over. Oh yeah, that ran out already. They've been in Australia for, well, back in Sydney for 2 weeks, and that's the self-isolation period, so they're fine. One of the things about cruise ships is that they're massive hotspots for infection because of prolonged. Yeah, I think they should have honestly tested everyone. You can't test just everyone. We don't have enough test kits. Be safe and sorry. It's only New South Wales that seems to have done it. Hey, look, it's a stuff up for sure. But you can't just test everyone. Like, there's 5,000 people on some of those ships, and, you know, you need to prioritize these things. That's why we can't just test everyone in the population. I've been able to do it. Not everyone on the cruise ship. They're still struggling to even find places for people to get off those boats and bring them home. It's not that simple. Yeah. But, you know, my parents were lucky that nothing went wrong with their ship, and they didn't get any issues, and they only really had to isolate for 4 days. I mean, we've been really careful because my youngest brother, he's got disabilities, that comes with, like, its own health issues. Hospital's not a fun place for him, so we've been very careful anyway. But countries like South Korea and Singapore have done things to certain levels. Yeah, they're going to be interesting to watch as well, because numbers are sort of inching up again, I think, from the last time I checked. I've been trying not to look so much now, though, because it just takes up so much of my time, you know. Aircraft carrier that's been put out of service. Yeah. Yeah, that's unfortunate, isn't it? Oh my gosh. But yeah, no. So with the whole coronavirus thing, I think I mentioned on the Facebook stream yesterday, yeah, my family's been staying home because we are kind of paranoid about my younger disabled brother. So we only really go out if we need to shop for something. More countries is more, oh, like they're more authoritative? Yeah, that's all right. Yeah, I'm a bit worried about Japan. My relatives don't seem like they've noticed very much, but it does sound like Japan might have been fudging the numbers a little bit because of the Olympics. Yeah, authoritative. Yeah, and now that the Olympics are cancelled, I think they're being a little bit more honest about their numbers. I haven't actually checked what they're up to. Can't be bothered to do that right now, actually. But yeah, I just worry a little bit. I mean, in Japan, in winter, a lot of people wear face masks, and it's not necessarily a health thing. It's also like when I was in Japan over the winter a couple years back, the air is so dry, so actually wearing a mask helps keep the moisture in, and it's easier to breathe in that sense. Yeah, it's not, hey, South Korea is pretty free. But yeah, no, I think South Korea is doing pretty well, but I've heard Singapore sounds like they're starting to have more issues again. So it'd be interesting to watch. But yeah, I worry that Japan was fudging the numbers. But on the other hand, people are pretty into hygiene. Like the Shinto mythology has a lot about purity and, you know, cleansing and all that. Saying that I'm also stronger, greater good mentality. Oh, yeah. People tend to behave better. I think that's another thing in Japan. You know, whereas, you know, in some of our Western countries, people still go to the beach and then the government has to shut down all the beaches because people aren't getting the hint. But yeah, no, I just worry a little bit about Japan. But they did shut down some things early. Like my cousins were meant to have various graduations and they cancelled those, which is a bit sad for them, but individualism. Yeah, it's sort of a difference of attitude. Oh my god, we're getting into the Asian politics in a big way. These are things that I haven't really looked at in a long time. It's just, I worry for my family in Japan. I think they'll be alright though. They're not like in the middle of Tokyo. It's more like around the edges of Tokyo. But yeah, no, with the whole coronavirus thing, so New South Wales was sort of progressively locked down over the past 2 weeks, and it was just like, oh, so distracting because like every day there's some new restriction for a while, and so like I would get up and the news would be on, and when you walk into a room and the TV's on, it's really distracting, especially when there's like another announcement. So that's that's probably why I think I mentioned yesterday, I haven't really done live streaming and making videos for the past couple weeks because I've just been so distracted. Like once it started happening, it was just like every day there's a new restriction. Um, are you talking about North Korea? North Korea is the one firing missiles into the Sea of Japan. Oh my gosh. Yeah, so it's distracting me. I'm trying to keep up with the comments and try and remember what I'm talking about. 60 years ago. Yeah, so I've been heaps distracted, but also with New South Wales shutting down like everything. So my dad's working from home, and so is my brother who's a teacher. He still goes to school sometimes, but he's around more. And then mum is just not working. I don't remember why, but she's not. And so she's home. So everyone's home. We're trying to keep my youngest brother, the disabled one, Mikey, we're trying to keep him home so that he doesn't, catch it, because it would be really bad if he caught it. But he gets bored, so he does go out with a carer, and they're very careful about where they go, and they come home to eat lunch rather than buying it anywhere. We're just sort of that level of being careful. And so with everyone being home, it's been a lot noisier, and that sort of, I didn't realize like how much that had messed with me. You know, what do you say? Talking about the safety of a family in Japan. I know the difference between North and South. Had family fight in the Korean. I might have gotten confused because like I'm trying to keep up with all the different things, so maybe I was reading the comments in like the wrong order in my brain. But yeah, so for those of you who didn't catch the Facebook live stream, I'm very sorry about not... Ooh, is that a possum or something? There's something in the roof. Yeah, no, I hate phone typing, hey. Yeah, no, for all you guys, YouTube guys who didn't catch the Facebook stream, I'm sorry I haven't been posting very much. It's just like heaps distracting and like trying to keep up with everything. But I think now that, the new restrictions and announcements and so on have slowed down, and it's more about case numbers and stuff that I'm, whatever. It's not stuff that I desperately need to know, like what's restricted today. Now that all the restriction announcements and whatever have slowed down, I feel like I can think a little bit more. So yeah, I'm gonna try and get back on the YouTube, making progress. Also, actually, there was a week where I was working on some music, which I'll, maybe I can post something to Patreon. But yeah, no, I was working on writing some music stuff, which I can't really show the full thing, but I'll see what I can do. Yeah, that took up a bit of my time, and then with the distractions, I was just like, yeah, YouTube's not happening at the moment. But yeah, no, I feel like I'm sort of getting into a groove of having people home. Like right now, so it's almost 10 o'clock here in Sydney, 10 p.m. And I think, is my brother maybe still walking around? I don't know, he's going to bed anyway, but once everyone's asleep, it's kind of quieter. So maybe I can do live streams at night, and also at night, no one is working from home, so I don't have to worry about hogging bandwidth. I did think about streaming earlier, but they were watching Netflix, and I thought, if I'm live streaming, am I going to interfere with their Netflix? Sam H, hi, how are you? Oh, hello. Yeah, doing all right. Just talking about coronavirus things, and we went on a massive tangent about politics earlier. Yeah, no, so I was just talking about how the coronavirus stuff is sort of affecting my sanity. I thought I would be fine because I'm always home. Like, I'm a stay-at-home bum, or alternatively, live-in tech support. Because, like, we had our TV break, and I think if you follow my Instagram, I might have posted that as a story. Yeah, we had the TV break. I did end up fixing it, and then, like, when my parents realized it was fixed, they're like, you can live with us forever, kind of thing. Sorry if this is weird, but how old are you? Don't answer if it's like a quick... No, you can play the age guessing game. If you want to guess how old I am, go for it, because it's always interesting to see what people think. I miss being able to go out and socialize. Yeah, well, like, I'm more of a hermit type. I'm happy staying at home most of the time, but that's when the house is empty. And now it's full, so yeah, I'm starting to feel like, oh, I want to get out sometimes. 29. Oh, that's closer than other people. Yeah, I'm actually 31. I get some weird answers from people sometimes about my age, so yeah, it's always interesting for me to know. I'm 31. Yeah, no, but, so with everyone being home all the time, like, I've just, it's been hard to concentrate and all that kind of stuff, and hard to just figure out what things I need to get done. And then was getting really tired. I think just like my brain trying to absorb everything. So I had a lot of naps. Yeah, but I think I'm going all right. It's just like filming videos and live streams while everyone's around is weird to me. Like, I used to do it 10 years ago, but now I don't know. I think I've just changed a little bit. Maybe I've grown a sense of shame. Because it is weird. It's distracting. And, you know, I have to get into the right mindset to talk to the camera as opposed to a real person. It's just a different thing. And, yes, I feel a bit awkward trying to film stuff when people are around. So that's been a bit of an obstacle. But also, like... I forgot about my alarm. I have an alarm that tells me to go to bed, and it just told me to go to bed. Whoops. I hope that wasn't loud. Yeah. So, there goes my train of thought. What was I just talking about? I don't know, sorry, this is a weird question. I don't know. I sort of, like, I would say centrist, I guess, but I kind of, like, on some issues lean one way and on some issues lean the other way, probably. I don't know. I'm not sure, to be honest. Coronavirus. People being home all the time. Weird. Putting on the YouTube face. That's cool. Yeah. Distracted by comments. No, I will try and get my game together for YouTube. Oh yeah, that's right. The stuff that I filmed like at the end of last year that I still haven't edited, just because my brain's been like, trying to deal with everything. I haven't been able to concentrate on that. I've been a little bit more interested in trying to get some music done, but I've done some of that now. Although there's always more I could do. But I'll try and balance between like doing music, doing YouTube things. One thing I'm thinking is, like, when I got my new computer, my Alienware thing, it came with a 3 months Xbox Pass thingy, which I still haven't downloaded. I've got 6 months to download it. I'm thinking I might do that. Maybe I can figure out how to screen capture those games and then chuck together a let's play. I'm not a gamer, right? So I was thinking I could have a go at, like, you know, if you want to suggest me some games that are on the Xbox thing, maybe I can do like a noob plays whatever game it is. That could be kind of embarrassing because, like, I haven't played anything in ages. I haven't even played Free Space. I'll keep doing my Free Space Let's Play. Yes, I am half Japanese. Xbox, yeah, I know, but it's like not the Xbox console, it's the Xbox computer version thing. I don't know that much about it. If I had to choose between like consoles, I'd probably go for PlayStation, but that's just me. My ex didn't listen, but we won't talk about him. Actually, I don't know what PlayStation's like today. We've got a PlayStation 3. I sort of vaguely was aware of PlayStation 4, but I've never been the one to own those things. That's my brother's stuff. He usually plays like sport games. But no, I was thinking like maybe I can download that 3-month whatever it is, and we can try the games on that Xbox Pass, whatever it is, and see how badly I fail at different games. I think like once the 3 months expires, I'm probably not gonna renew because I'm not a gamer. Yes, I got an insane gaming computer, but I'm not a gamer. I just wanted to get something that would edit videos without making me go crazy all the time like my old computer was. And something that would last me a good many years. And oh my god, I can see dust on it and it's really annoying me and I just have to like... Oh. Okay, I feel better now having dusted that a little bit. Unfortunately, like, I moved all my stuff onto this desk. Like, you remember my old wooden desk? Oh, Hopi, I'll let you in. Hang on. Hopi, come in. Alright. Do you want to say hi to everyone? Come here. Come here, beautiful dog. Oh, here he is. Here he is. Here's my little Hopi. But yeah, so you guys remember my wooden desk, right? And now I've moved everything to this desk, which is like I had set up for music, but now it's got everything on it. And something I didn't realize is because this desk is black, you can actually see all the dust and all the dog fur that lands on it. And I'm like, so now I just have to clean everything when I see it getting dusty. And it's, yeah, I probably should have realized that beforehand, but hey, what can you do? Anyway, yeah, so thinking about maybe I can do more gaming videos, but I also want to do free space, but I guess free space isn't going to expire. I think I've got it, I haven't played free space on this computer yet, but I think I did get it to run. Someone was telling me that free space, the CD-ROM version of free space wouldn't run on Windows 10, but it wasn't that hard to set up. I think I just had to turn off, like when you're using a 4K screen, Windows 10 does like 150%, making everything bigger, and you just have to turn that off back to 100%, and then everything seems to run fine. I guess we'll find out when I actually try and play it. You want to get down? No? Okay, he's happy. He's happy. Anyway, so that's like a coronavirus project, seeing as I can't go places and I'm going a little bit mental. I've been spending way too much time on Neopets, I gotta say, which, yes, is still a thing. I finally upgraded my bank account in Neopets, and so it's like the Mega Million, I don't even remember. Yeah, I still, like, the thing is with Windows 10, on Windows 7 I used to play like Spider Solitaire, but on Windows 10 they run all these ads next to it, and I'm like, if you're gonna run ads next to it, next to a game, I might as well play Neopets where there's heaps of ads too, and, you know, not feel so frustrated. So that's that. Anyway, yeah, no, there's heaps of stuff I want to do with the coronavirus. Oh, one of the things, so because there's so much noise around the place, I've been spending more time in the garden, so I will have some gardening videos coming up. Yeah, I've got too many hobbies, but I'm trying to keep my hobbies a bit more narrowed down to music, bonsai, and YouTube. The tricky thing about YouTube is YouTube could be anything as long as I film it, right? So yeah, trying to narrow down my hobbies, but I did realize earlier in the year that I don't actually like art that much. Like, yeah, I did a degree in art, but I honestly, I just get frustrated, you know, like I paint something. Oh, you going down? Alright, go. Go on. You can go there, look, you can jump there, that's fine. Sorry. I don't know what he's doing. I don't know if he's trying to escape or if he's just going to sit down and chill out. Yeah, no, I realized I don't actually like painting. I like the idea of painting, but when I sit down to paint it, it looks like crap, and then I sit there fixing every little mistake over and over and over, and that's how it turns into something that actually looks okay. But the whole process is just me stressing about how bad it looks until it looks acceptable. It's just like stress. People talk about painting as like some kind of meditation. No, for me, it is just stress, stress, stress. And I finally realized that, and I'm like, shit, I don't actually like painting. What was I thinking? So, music, bonsai, YouTube. Yeah, and so I've really got to try and just like block out the noise and get into more of a rhythm with YouTube so that I can film new stuff. Like, one of the things about trying to edit the stuff that I filmed 4 months ago is, like, that's 4 months ago me. And I know with the Disturbed cover in Voices, right, that's the one that I covered, there's an echo in it, and I sing the echo, but I'm like, I look like such a tool doing it, and so, yeah, I'm a bit like, do I really want to post this on the internet for everyone to see? or should I just roll with it because I've already made a fool of myself enough as it is over the years. So I think I have redeveloped a bit of insecurity in a weird way. Like, yes, I'm more confident in some ways, but I've also gone backwards in other ways. Like, 10 years ago, oh my god, there's dog fur flying. 10 years ago when I used to YouTube a lot, I just didn't have so much of that sense of shame, but I was insecure in other areas of my life, and now it's sort of reversed in a way. Yeah, wow. But, oh my gosh. Yeah, I've been growing carrots and stuff, and it came out a bit wonky. I'll show you that at some point. But it's probably going to be in a really long video, so if you can manage to get through that entire video, like, wow. Maybe I should put bookmarks in it for all the good bits. And then you can just skip to where the good bits are. Yeah, anyway. No. There was more I wanted to say about the coronavirus thing. So I think on my last proper live stream, not the Facebook one and not the messes that happened yesterday, I think I was mentioning, like, coronavirus not being so much of a threat. And I was mainly talking about, like, in terms of death rates, right? So at the time, I think they were saying it was like a 2% death rate, but I think from memory I was talking about how as we find out more numbers, the death rate should actually be lower because there's a lot of people who aren't showing symptoms that we didn't know about, and so on. And it does seem to be the case that maybe it's more like 1% death rate under good circumstances, maybe. But a lot of things have happened since that last live stream, so I guess I wanted to follow up on some of that. Now, I think at the time, Australia was, like, pretty blasé about it because we didn't really have much going on here. But I think one of the things that maybe made more governments around the world take it more seriously is when Italy started to get really badly hit. I think before that, no one really trusts China, and it's hard to know what exactly is going on when you just look at China. And I think that initially we were all looking at them going, well, they seem to have it under control. They didn't report it for ages, but when they did, then they shut everything down. It seems like they're taking measures better than SARS, maybe. So maybe this won't be a big deal. It's a bit weird that they're shutting down so hard, but they're saying it's okay. The WHO is saying it's okay. So maybe it's not going to be a big deal. But then Italy got smashed, and I think that's when we all sat up and we're all like, oh shit, this is actually a big deal and we need to do something. The Australian government did seem to be shutting down a few things before that, like in terms of flights from China, but we didn't start getting lockdowns until... when did they start locking down? Maybe like a bit over a week ago. My sense of time has just gone out the window. Like sometimes I don't even know what day it is anymore because usually I measure days by like weekends. Weekends are when everyone's home, but now everyone's home all the time and it's just like, what even is time anymore? So I don't even remember when the lockdowns started happening. And it was kind of progressive. Like one day you couldn't go to gigs, the next day you can't go to a restaurant, you can only get takeaway, it's like all these different things happening every day so fast. So I'm just like, But yeah, I do think it's like when Italy started to get smashed because we can trust more of the numbers coming out of Italy, particularly like, Western governments probably trust other Western countries more than we trust China. I think another thing though, in terms of us not taking coronavirus so seriously at the beginning is because, I'm old enough to remember a lot of scares about SARS and you're returned, hey! I remember a lot of fuss when I was younger about SARS and bird flu and swine flu and people were making such a big fuss, but in the end we never saw any impact of it. So when it comes to coronavirus, I think a lot of us were hoping it would just be the same thing, like, oh yeah, they're freaking out about yet another Chinese virus, but it'll just stay in China and mainly Asia and the rest of us will be fine. But this has actually turned into a big deal. I think once it hit Italy, that's probably when we all started paying attention. So that's been interesting. And now it's really turned into a major thing. It's like, Look at Paul Skimmer, Paul Skyrecker. Yeah, no, I think he, like, that's to be expected. He's looking a lot better in presentation. Like, there's some things that I haven't agreed with, but the way that he sort of stepped up to that war prime minister kind of vibe, you were going to get that kind of a result. And I think he's done it, like, I think better than Malcolm Turnbull would have. And to be honest, better than Shorten. I'm not really a huge fan of Bill Shorten. I kind of wished that Albo had gotten in earlier, but hey, no one asked me. Now Albo's in, and I feel like he hasn't really made the most of it. But hey, I'm a dirty centrist. Who cares what I think? Yeah, anyway, so I think, yeah, Italy's when we started to sit up, because, like, when they started having a lot of people dying, like in China, everyone, I think you kind of, there's a lot of stereotypes around China, so you kind of expect them to shut down hard because they're authoritarian, and you kind of expect them to just, like, randomly build new hospitals, and you kind of expect things to go wrong there with the whole made in China stereotype. And then you also expect the Chinese government to not really explain much about, like, are their numbers real? And then they seem to act like they were being transparent at some point, which we now are like, yeah, bullshit. Yeah, but at the time we're like, they seem to be doing okay, but yeah, no, once Italy got hit, I think that's when shit hit the fan. And yeah, and then, like, like in Australia, we're like, oh shit, maybe we should actually do something about this and, mess around with our economy. That's going to be interesting to see how they get out of that. Oh my god. I just like him in a lot of stuff. He has many flaws with how he's handled it, but he's definitely handled it better than, yeah, definitely better than the bushfire crisis. I'll never know the hatred people have for Bill Shorten. I personally think it's being manufactured by News Corp and the Murdoch me. Yeah, but see, I'm gathering from the things that you say that you're more left-leaning, and so I can, like, like, I have a lot of left-leaning friends, right? I think a lot of them don't really make enough of an effort to understand what right-leaning people think about things, and like, it's like a bit of an echo chamber thing. Yeah. So, like, yeah, I feel like if you don't talk to right-wing people enough and don't, like, really, like, it's difficult. You really have to sort of set aside what you think to be able to talk to them, because you all have different languages, like the way that you speak about different things. It's all English, but the way that the different sides, I've noticed I have to change my language when I'm speaking to right-wing people versus left-wing people in real life, like, my friends and family. I do find myself changing my language, because if I speak the way I would speak to left-wing people, the same way I'd speak to right-wing people, it's really easy for misunderstandings to happen. You think you're aware of how right-leaning people do. Yeah, see, you think you do, but when you get into deeper, like, there's a lot of nuance on both sides, and remember, it's all a spectrum, so I think it's very easy to categorize one side or the other by the extremes, and then there's, like, more nuances in between, and it can be hard to figure out, because you're so used to thinking, oh, the right wing or the left wing thinks this, when you find out that, like, an individual within it doesn't quite have that. Do you have an example? No, because I didn't come here thinking I would be talking politics. I'm sure I had one somewhere, but, like, that would have been more relevant to me when the election was actually, both the elections were actually happening last year. I've been trying to block out a lot of the politics since then, because it's just not important to me if I don't have to vote, Like, why does it matter if I worry about the politics right now, because I can't do anything about it? Oh, Adam Spong! Hey, haven't heard from you in ages. Yeah, no, politics, it's an interesting thing. If you wanna, one of the interesting things is, do you know Sky News Australia? They're that super right-wing, yeah, that was ages ago, hey. But yeah, no, if you look at Sky News Australia, right, very right-wing channel, it's, and then when you look at their speaking style, they're very dramatic a lot of the time, and they have this tone and so on. And when I first stumbled on some of that, yeah, It's very much like that, but if you can get past their presentation style and just listen to some of the points they're making, you start noticing half the time, yeah, it is that extreme right-wing stuff, but the other half of the time, they're actually saying some sensible things sometimes, which was a bit of a surprise to me, because like I'd only seen a lot of the more extreme stuff. But yeah, they're a mixed bag. It's interesting to watch, especially once you get past their presentation style and you try and just take what they're actually trying to say. I would have to like actually go to the Sky News channel, pick up an example, and be like, "This is what I mean," and I don't have that on me right now. You know, trying to live stream rather than watch videos, and if I play videos in the background, God knows I'll get hit with a copyright thing, which is what they were trying to do to me last night. They're like, "Oh, we've detected something," which was clearly a glitch, but hey. Yeah, no, I just like you can go onto the Sky News Australia channel and watch a bit, and if you can stomach it, because I know their presentation style is a little bit, it's not left-wing friendly. It will be hard to watch, but if you can sit through it, you might get a little bit like they are. Keep in mind they are extreme right in a lot of things, but if you can find the bits that do make sense, maybe you'll get a little bit of a sense of what I'm talking about. I don't know. I wish I had a more moderate example, at least like Australia relevant. There are some interesting right-wing YouTubers, like Blair White I find interesting. Don't agree with everything she says, but she's a fascinating character. And one of the things about her is she has that very like American LA style kind of speaking. And so it makes her at first seem like a little bit of a bimbo maybe, but that's just her character. And when you actually listen to the words that she's saying, not so you don't like her. Friendly Geordie's sort of vaguely aware, but yeah, I watch more like random short documentary kind of things most of the time, I think. She's not anti-trans though. She just has a different perspective, and it's fascinating. Like I said, I don't agree with. Hey, well, we've all got challenges and stuff, right? And it's like we don't have to agree all the time. I just wish people would sort of get along, huh? Gonna be some right wing talk session she went to. Yeah, well, she cops a lot of crap. It's complicated because like there's people on the right that don't like her and people on the left that don't like her, and she sort of occupies a very interesting space, and yeah. Yeah, well, no, did I get distracted again? Let me just scroll back up and see what the hell I was thinking about beforehand. No, I don't remember what I was talking about. Oh, man. Oh, that's the thing about live streaming, is there's always a bit of chaos, hey. Oh, dear. No, I guess the global, like, why we didn't realize... Hamster, what? I think I was talking about why we didn't realize coronavirus was going to be a bigger deal, until later. Tea? I don't think so. Was I? I didn't think I was talking about tea. Oh, yeah, no, I think, some of the geopolitics and whatever, part of the reason we didn't realize it was going to be as bad as it has gotten. And Italy, I think, is like that pivotal moment where the world goes, oh crap. And I gotta say, I'm pretty Who do you vote for in the last election? I think I voted for an independent. I think I usually do, because I don't really like anyone. But yeah, no. Yeah, I probably would have been an independent. So, last 6 months lockdown. Oh, yeah, so in New South Wales, they reckon the, full-on restrictions will be about 90 days, and, oh, bloody Tony Abbott. Yeah, no, we've got Zali now. I don't know what she's doing. She's sent us a letter about climate change, but I'm like, Corona's the new thing. It's a bit like no one's going to give a crap about climate change right now. It's bad timing. Cancellation. Yeah, Queensland's been going ahead with all that, but then Queensland hasn't been as hard hit as New South Wales. I guess climate change is... Yeah, it's just like if you're gonna try and raise an issue like climate change, you don't do it in the middle of a pandemic when everyone's distracted by other things. Like, you know, people are losing their jobs right now and trying to figure out how to survive. And you want to talk about climate change? I mean, you know, a problem that's later versus a problem that's now. I think that's a very hard sell because people are worried about surviving now, you know. October will be out to vote, but still do social... Yeah, 2022? Shit. Oh dear. Yeah, no, with climate change, I like that Malin Baker dude. He's kind of cool. He's got an interesting sort of more balanced sort of look at stuff. Although I should probably look at some of his sources sometime. I don't care enough about a lot of these things to, you know, if it's not an election time, I'm not active any other time politically, so I don't really keep up. No, Malin Baker, Mallen Baker. He's a YouTuber who, you know, talks a lot about climate change kind of things, and you know, I feel like he brings a little bit more balance to things. Science and corona. Okay, I don't know where you're getting that one from. Oh dear, 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 dear. Yeah, no, so 90 days of the full-on lockdown in New South Wales, and then the federal government's provisions are going for 6 months. Will be interesting to see how things develop. Bushfires, maybe people lost it. Yeah, this year has been really crazy, like especially for Australia, because we had fire, then floods, and now coronavirus, and I'm now expecting aliens. Yeah, well, look, if you have an underlying condition, you're more susceptible, and yeah, there's various factors. It's interesting that it's affecting males more than females, at least in terms of death rates. I think in infection rates, maybe it's the other way around, but I haven't looked at the most recent numbers. Yeah, I think you're getting a bit confused because coronavirus is actually a family of viruses, whereas the one that we're dealing with now is a specific version of coronavirus. So yes, coronavirus has been around for ages, but this particular coronavirus, the SARS-CoV-2 thing that causes COVID-19, that is much more recent. And you know, the evolution of those things is quite interesting too, the way it jumps between species, and just happened to get the right mutation to really mess with us. Yeah, I find that kind of stuff kind of fascinating. Yeah, no, I should, like, when I'm live streaming, I should really make a list of, like, points so that when I get sidetracked, I kind of remember to come back to whatever the hell I was originally thinking about, but I think I just kind of like to ramble too much. Oh, dear. So what is global blah blah blah? Ah, the WHO is pretty useless, I gotta say. I just feel like they really dropped the ball on this one. Hendra, yeah, I sort of vaguely remember Hendra causing a mild sort of panic for a bit, but yeah, like all the other viruses, didn't affect me here in the cities. Whereas coronavirus, like, obviously I don't know anyone at this point who has coronavirus, but it is affecting my life because of the shutdowns and stuff, so that's a bit different. Yeah, it seems like a lot of these viruses come from bats, and maybe it's because of just the way that they're able to move around more and poo on everything. Anyway, the WHO, yeah, they're kind of disappointing because they were telling everyone not to shut their borders, and then Australia, we did shut our borders, and it turned out to probably have been a good decision. Yeah, I just feel like the WHO, I don't know what their problem is. Like, did they trust China too much on this? And yeah, their advice just hasn't been great. I've seen, like, conspiracy theories, of course, but Yeah, no, it'd be interesting to see how history analyzes the WHO's response, because I think they've really dropped the ball in like emphasizing to the rest of the world just how big a deal this is, because we're all destroying our economies now for it. And good luck if you're in a country that doesn't have the economic resources to support a population through this. I think we're very lucky in Australia. You know, like we haven't been hit very hard. We've started in summer. We got like, you know, we got a bit of a not head start. What's the opposite of a head start? We had a bit of a delay. Like we were able to watch the rest of the world go through chaos, so that we've been able to adjust our responses, like learning from what everyone else is doing. And we're a relatively wealthy country with a relatively, like, we're not as densely populated as other countries. So I think like a whole bunch of factors have just added up to make Australia like a pretty safe place to go through this so far. Cross fingers, it can always get worse. But if you're living in a country that doesn't have those resources, that is very densely populated, and doesn't have the medical equipment and all that kind of stuff and the know-how, I think maybe the only thing they've got going for them is that the wealthy people flying from country to country spreading this stuff don't go to their countries as often, but they are getting into these. The virus has gotten into a lot of those countries, and so, yeah, it's a bit concerning to see how that might go down. Let me catch up on comments. But roadblocks around horses down the road from me. Yeah, I do remember, like, you know, anytime there's like some kind of animal virus like that, they do sort of quarantine at least the animals. But now it's us being quarantined. Banging sounds to deter bats. Oh yeah, I think in like, is it the Botanic Gardens or something? Somewhere in Sydney, like they started, I think they tried playing noises to get rid of bats at some point. Fruit bats have all the diseases. Don't mind, sometimes YouTube has its flaw, which is quite unacceptable. Oh, which one do you mean? Like them cancelling my streams and all that? A bit of the flag videos of the sea. Yeah, no. See, I started this video intentionally to test their live stream COVID thing, because, yeah, I'm not monetized, so it doesn't matter. I don't. I used to be monetized, but then they brought in those stricter things because of, you know, a handful of people misbehaving. And so all of us, even like the ones who've been here 10 years not causing trouble, we all got hit. But yeah, no. So at the beginning of this live stream, because they were messing with my live streams yesterday, I thought I'd start the live stream. I'd put COVID-19 in the title, and then at the very start of the stream, I said like every COVID word I could think of. And I thought if we last past the 4 minutes, that means we're good to go and we can have a nice long stream. But if it was going to cut me off, I was going to be like, yeah, let's not bother with this stream. So it seems to be working. Like we've been going for an hour and we haven't been cut off. So it would seem that YouTube isn't like blatantly censoring everything with COVID in it. I think it was just a glitch that got me last night, and it seems to be resolved. So yay, we can get back to streaming and I don't have to resort to Facebook, because that was just weird. It was okay. It just like I was so distracted, especially like knowing it was on Facebook, and yeah, and then I think feeling a bit flustered dealing with YouTube and all that. Yeah. Gosh, so many comments today. Just trying to remember what I was talking about every time. Oh dear. What, I was disappointed with the WHO, wasn't I? I don't know. It's going to be interesting, like, when we're picking up the pieces at the end of all this, and we can look back and see. Oh, I was talking about the countries that don't have the resources. Yeah, that's going to be, YouTube is easier. But also, yeah, hopefully things get better in some of those European countries that have been hard hit, because when you look at the numbers of, like, the official numbers, the number of cases versus the deaths in like Italy, the death rate is currently at like 10%, which if it supposedly only kills 1%, all I can think of is possibly Italy doesn't know how many cases it has, and it actually has many more cases. that it's not aware of. But another thing is, if you look at the statistics, right, I think in that live stream beforehand when I'm like, don't worry guys, most of us are young, most of us are healthy, 1% death rate, most of us will be fine. But if you look at the numbers, I think that's assuming a reasonably good health system. As far as we can tell at this point in time, I think it's 80% of cases are mild and fine, but about 20% of cases need to go to hospital. And about 5% of those are that sort of intensive care, whatever, and I don't know how many end up on a ventilator, but if you look at the number of people who need to be on a ventilator, I've seen numbers anything from 50 to 80% of people on a ventilator won't come off it successfully. Yeah, and then if you don't have the resources to put someone on a ventilator in the first place, if you need a ventilator to survive and you're not given it, obviously you're going to die. So I wonder if the stress on the health system is a part of why some of those countries are getting elevated death rates at this point. It's probably a combination of the medical system not coping versus testing rates not detecting the wider picture of people who don't really have symptoms or only have the mildest symptoms. But we're not going to know any of those true numbers until this is all over. Yeah. Well, once you're on a ventilator, I mean, I guess it depends on what kind of ventilator as well, but if you're on the hardcore ventilator where they actually put a tube right down into your throat, it's not just on your face, it's all the way down your throat, that's pretty invasive stuff. And it's not necessarily the COVID that's going to kill you. It's, I mean, you want to watch a medical channel, not take it from me, but what they're saying is, so in your lungs with COVID, there's all this fluids building up because your body's trying to fight it off and there's inflammation and all that kind of stuff. The problem with the fluids is it blocks off some of your breathing. So they've put a ventilator to help you breathe, give you a bit of extra oxygen and all that kind of stuff. The problem with that is you have a moist environment with lots of oxygen and whatever, and apparently that's a very good breeding ground for bacteria. And then you end up with, instead of just a viral pneumonia, you also have a bacterial pneumonia at the same time. And when you add all that together, chances aren't looking so good. Combine that with, older people and people with health conditions probably being more likely to end up on a ventilator. These are people who are already quite vulnerable. And then you add in these two types of pneumonia, we can keep people alive for a while, but not everyone's going to come off those ventilators. Take everything I say with a pinch of salt. I say this almost every time, I think, because I'm going off my memory. My memory is flawed. So, well, that's the thing. There was a medical channel I was watching where the guy was like, look, guys, we need to have a good conversation with our families, very frank conversation. If you are in a situation where you might need to be ventilated, you need to tell your family ahead of time whether or not you actually want that. Because the other thing is, even if you successfully come off a ventilator, you can have permanent respiratory damage. You can end up with various disabilities related to having survived that illness. And what's your quality of life going to be? For some people, they'll just go back to normal life, but other people do run a risk of, not quite making it through. And you're alive, but what's your quality of life? So you do have to sort of think about that. Do you really want to be on a ventilator? Because the other thing is, if you don't tell someone what you want, then, people default to trying to save your life straight away, which means you might be kept alive against your wishes, but no one knows because you're out of it. You can't say what you want. Sorry to get heaps dark, guys. But the other thing is, apart from your wishes, if you didn't want to be on that ventilator, someone else might need that ventilator who does want to live. And so, if no one knows what your wishes are, not only are you staying alive against your will, or, you might not even survive, but if you do, you're being ventilated against your will. Not only that, but you're also taking up a resource that someone who did want to live might have used. So there's that. The other thing is, if you refuse a ventilator and you just say, just make me comfortable, maybe they can just, just say, they're not just going to let you suffer and die. They're going to give you some kind of palliative care. Two people at once, yeah. So if you refuse the ventilator, right, they're not just going to leave you on the street to die. They'll try and make you comfortable. You know, I don't know how they do it, like shoot you up with morphine. I don't know anything about palliative care, but yeah, and then perhaps they can arrange to have your family. I mean, because it's COVID, they won't let them in the same room except in extreme circumstances. But you know, maybe you can have video conference or something and be like, right, guys, I'm pretty much dead, but you know, they're gonna shoot me up with morphine. I'm gonna have a snooze and see you later, kind of thing. Like maybe you can at least have some kind of closure. Or if you're already out of it, you can just sort of, you know, be shot up with drugs and drift away, and your family will know that that was your choice instead of feeling stressed that maybe you had a chance and, like, you know, that hope, and then having hope ripped away from you and all that kind of stuff. I don't know, it's complicated. You've got to think about it for yourself, and, you know, don't take my word for all these things, but if you don't want to be on the ventilator, you need to tell someone close to you ahead of time so that they aren't having to make that difficult decision for you. And yeah, the default position most people take is to save your life. Of course, sometimes depends a bit on what country you're in and what your medical system's like. I don't know what the laws in different places are. Yeah, no, sorry to get heaps dark, but yeah, once you're on the ventilator, your chances of survival go down. And, like, God help you if you're on ECMO. When was the last time you went to movies? Oh, yeah, let's try and lighten it up. Ah, shit, I don't know when the last time. Probably Star Wars, Rise of Skywalker, which I actually liked, bite me. No, I've been trying to get into watching more stuff, but just DVDs. I watched The Second Coming. That was interesting. I was wearing shopping. Yeah, they did close the cinemas here a while ago, so you can't go and watch anything anyway. If you do want to watch a movie in Sydney, though, I would recommend Chatswood Westfield, because everything is a recliner. Not just like the fancy one you have to pay more for. Everything is a recliner. The Lighthouse in February. What's that? I don't know, The Lighthouse. I haven't been keeping up, to be honest. I was just like, oh yeah, Star Wars. I know what Star Wars is. I'll go and see that. And then, what else has even been on? I don't know, I think this year I've just been heaps distracted, because remember I started my year off in crutches, so fun shit, hey. And then since then, like, I was keeping that list of everything that was going wrong with my life, but I've stopped listing things because 2020 has just gotten that insane. Philharmonic Orchestra for Star Wars. Oh yeah, that'd be kind of fun. Yeah, no, there's some good music in Star Wars, hey. Yeah, no, I'm still a little bit like, yeah, the COVID-19 ventilator stuff. I don't know, if you look up some of the statistics, the French horns, every time I think of French horns, I think of Fantasia. Do you remember that? Like the original, we had the VHS, which we watched over and over. New black and white film where two lighthouse keepers get stranded on their island, go fucking okay. Wow, and is it an actual lighthouse, or is it more like that movie where it turns out it's all in his head? Current Tony Hamlin has seen the full orchestra, 40 violin. Okay. Yeah. But yeah, with the COVID-19 stuff, right, you can, there's some interesting YouTube videos, you know, if you prefer YouTube videos that go through some of the articles and sort of, like, translate it, a real lighthouse. They translate those more scientific papers into, like, regular people language, so it's easier to get through and you don't get so bored trying to read through all the numbers and figure out what it all means. But yeah, no, the death statistics, like if you compare it to the flu, you know, the number of hospital admissions, I think, versus like COVID versus flu, and they're like, you know, they've done papers on the, I think it's based on UK demographics. Interesting stuff. Doctor Who, oh my god, are we gonna get started on Doctor Who? That is its own can of worms, I gotta say. Chibnall, I don't like Chibnall. I think he's really made a mess of the series. Yeah, oh my god, he's made such a mess, and I'm not sure how, like, the writing's been kind of not good for a while. I was really hoping with a change of writer that Doctor Who would come back to life, but no, I think Chibnall might actually be worse than Moffat, which is saying a lot. Yeah, I was not that into David Tennant. I know that's not a popular opinion, but I preferred Eccleston. Probably because he's much more dark and moody and so on, and I'm more dark and moody, whereas David Tennant was a little bit too cheerful and human loving, and I am not cheerful and human loving. So I probably went with the one that's more relatable. But yeah, no, I definitely preferred, I think, the Russell T Davies era. Moffat, very frustrating. Every now and then there'd be a good episode, but for the most part. And now we've got Chibnall, and I think he handled the switch to a female doctor pretty well. There's some good sense of humor because, she keeps forgetting that she's a she now. And I find that amusing instead of like overly feminizing her. But the rest of the writing has been mostly misses. Been occasional good things, but yeah, mostly I'm just like, oh shit, what are they doing this time? And then I don't know how much to say because I don't know how far you guys have watched, and like some of you might actually want to watch it. But the ending of the most recent season and that whole story running through as well, I'm just like, oh, why did you do this? Why couldn't, like, I was annoyed enough with Moffat when he basically destroyed the whole Time War thing. Like, the Time War was such an amazing concept to bring back some mystery to the Doctor and like some angst and stuff. And then Moffat's like, no, we're just gonna retcon that away. Okay, well, no, I think it was poorly written, to be honest. Yeah. Yeah, no, I caught up on iView a couple ones when I didn't watch it on TV. But, I just think it is badly written, and he's kind of erased, with the Timeless Child narrative, he's kind of erased. When did Doctor Who start? Like 60 years ago, maybe? He's kind of erased all that history, like the character development, because like the whole point is the Doctor starts off kind of an asshole. The first Doctor was kind of an asshole, but after traveling with all these different people and like growing as a person, he sort of becomes a more interesting, more compassionate character. He's still got a ridiculous number of flaws, but he's been through all this growth, and then the Timeless Child thing just destroys that. How could you think that was a good idea? It doesn't make sense. Not to mention, like, Chibnall wrote, like, that episode where she runs out of oxygen, and I'm just like, have you even watched any Doctor Who? The Doctor doesn't have the same oxygen requirements as a human. Like, that's just basic stuff. And DJS just found your channel. Hey, what's going on? Let me just catch up. Because it's 6 years old. 60. Yeah. Oh, no. I'm not sure if I'm going to keep watching Doctor Who. I'm really not sure, because it's just... I've endured to this point because I was hoping it would get better, but it keeps getting worse. And now it's like kind of collapsed into this ball of what even were you thinking? And yeah, the question now is, do I keep watching in the hopes that they'll fix it, or should I take this as the point where I give up? The Sixth Doctor. The Sixth Doctor was interesting. Oh, but yeah, no, Doctor Who stuff. Well off topic there. Yeah, no. So what we were talking about, coronavirus statistics. Yeah, you can find people breaking down the statistics for you. It's interesting stuff. Of course, take things with a grain of salt because we don't know for sure. I think like with a lot of, like with the Spanish flu, I know there are a lot of videos been coming up about that, a lot of articles as well. With the Spanish flu, I think at the time, it's like now, we don't really know how big it is and what impact it's going to have. I think in like a year's time, maybe when we're looking back, we'll have a better idea of what the full statistics are, because it's easier to look at that stuff in hindsight and work out exactly how many people got it. like even the way that deaths are being counted, some people are starting to wonder if different countries having different approaches is skewing numbers a bit. So that'll be interesting to see, like, once they sort of figure out, okay, who actually did die of coronavirus and who just happened to die not of coronavirus, but with like having a little bit of it when they had some other condition that was going to kill them anyway. Some interesting stuff there. Spanish flu. Yeah, that was a pretty big deal back when. But yeah, no, this. It is going to be interesting for like a history lesson for some kids, 20 years into the future. Hey, because this is pretty much, this is the biggest thing for most of us alive today since World War II. Like, there's still some people around, I think, who are alive in World War II, but not that many. For most of us, we've lived in relatively peaceful times, relatively easy times. And now it's basically war against a virus, invisible enemy that doesn't care where we're from, where we live, and all that. Although Australia seems to be going okay so far, cross fingers. We only count people as died from corona if they tested positive. Yeah, but if they tested positive, did they die from the coronavirus, or were they already dying from something else? And did the coronavirus just kick them along a little bit? Or did they combine in a big way? Or did the coronavirus not really impact their outcome? Do you know what I mean? So, like, there's different factors, and, like, how do we know for sure that it's the coronavirus that killed them and not something they were already dying from? Or not a weird combination, like, how much can you attribute each death to the coronavirus? I know younger people are starting to die from it in a lot of countries, but here in Australia it's mostly older people. Oh my goodness. Yeah, plenty of people who didn't get tested still died from it. Yeah, well, that's the other thing, like, how many deaths are we missing? Because, yeah, it's sort of chaotic. Like, if you've got a lot of people, dying, you can't always count them all. It's like that scene in Monty Python, Bring Out Your Dead, you just chuck them in the pile, and you can't exactly test them all when you're trying so hard to keep living people living. Once they're dead, what can you do? So yeah, I guess there probably will be deaths that have gone missing. But that's why I think, like, once we get through the history, up to the history lesson stage of this, looking back, maybe we'll have a better idea of the numbers. I guess the scientists have ways of figuring this stuff out, how many people died from this, and there'll probably be arguments for a while about, like, what the exact numbers are. But it'd be interesting to see. Like, it's one thing to speculate now, but anything I say now, in a week's time, I'll probably be like, gee, I talked a lot of crap, because we'll get more information and, get closer to what the answer actually is. That's like why I'm annoyed about Channel 7, I think it was, doing the Ruby Princess expose when there's an investigation still going on right now, like a full-on police investigation. We got to wait for the cops to come up to their conclusion. We can't just jump to it like the commercial stations want to. I mean, I didn't watch it, so I don't know what they actually said. Maybe they were a bit more reasonable, but the ads were sensationalizing the crap out of it. Channel 7, oh my god, it's trash. A lot of those commercial stations are trash. What's that? Oh, it's telling me to get my Xbox Game Pass. I'll just snooze that for, I don't know how many times I've snoozed. I gotta remember what day I have to redeem that. But yeah, no, I think we can speculate, but I think a lot of the stuff we're not gonna know for sure for a while with this virus. So yeah, I don't know, like, part of me is like, just let history handle it, but another part of me is like, well, what if? Yeah, but no, it would also be interesting to see how all our economies come out of it, because there's a lot of madness going on. Like, I was watching the ABC was sort of touching on, how is Australia paying for all these measures that we're going through at the moment. And so governments release bonds, and that's how they get money. But it turns out our Reserve Bank is buying most of the bonds at the moment, and they're doing that by basically printing money. and it made me think of modern monetary theory, I think it's called, MMT, which I haven't looked at in a while. I probably will read like the entire Wikipedia article one day when I get bored, but yeah, it's basically like the Reserve Bank is part of the government, right? So they're essentially printing money, and the Reserve Bank has to be careful because you don't want to give politicians the idea that there's just this endless supply of money that they can splash everywhere. But at the same time, we kind of need to be splashing the money everywhere right now. So yeah, tricky stuff. Going to be interesting to see how Australian finance goes on from here. Yeah, not changed much. Still look younger than. Oh, my mom looks pretty young too. She's funny. Did you watch the toilet paper video I made? Government funds itself by inflation or debt. I just think it's going to be interesting to see because, especially with it being a Liberal government, they tend to be more conservative. So the fact that they're splashing this much money around is a big deal. It means they think this is really bad if they're going to abandon a lot of their ideas. And it'll be interesting to see how they come out of this and then what we as a country do in the future. Another thing that's going to be interesting is our relationship with China because, I don't know, like, still don't feel like we can really trust China. As in, no, last night's live streams just went to shit because YouTube was having a glitch. And they're going to glitch me in about 15 minutes as well if we're, you know how it always disconnects me around. Yeah, I just, like, the communist government in China, they're not trustworthy, and it's hard to know how much of what they're saying is true and how much of it is bullshit. But another thing, like, regardless of your opinion of China, I think the world's reliance on China is, you know, really showing to be a bad idea because now we're all struggling to get supplies for medical things and, yeah, it's cool we've managed to ramp up our own production, like the military helping that guy's business produce masks and, you know, bringing some more manufacturing in those products back to Australia, you know, because Australia is pretty self-sufficient, like with agriculture. We can feed 3 times our population, I think they said. We've also got a lot of resources, so, you know, coal, uranium, that kind of stuff if we needed it. Of course, we haven't jumped on the nuclear bandwagon, but we might at some point. There's a few politicians who have the guts to talk about it, but not many. So, like, we can sustain ourselves in that sense, but there are other manufacturing things that we've relied too much on China, and we're now sort of going, gee, maybe we should make some of that stuff ourselves. And a lot of countries are doing that. And I think it'll be interesting to see how the world moves forward with China, because, for one thing, we're realizing bad idea to give one country, like, a monopoly on what we're producing. Another thing, we've now realized we can make our own stuff and we're ramping up all those things. So would we send them back to China after this or to like some other country? And then how's this going to affect trade? Very interesting stuff. Let me catch up on comments. See it? Oh, you've been learning Indonesian. Interesting. China's latitude of 6+ years. Nuclear is overrated. Australia, if anything, needs nuclear bombs. Oh my god. We've now got the two sides of politics in the comments. A Holland plant shut down make respirators. Yeah, it's just going to be very interesting to see how things go forward. I don't think we need nuclear bombs though, but I think we need to at least have a proper look at nuclear power. At least as like, I don't think you know, solar and wind is quite up to scratch yet. I feel like we need something in between so that we can buy a little bit more time to develop better renewables. They still use a lot of crap these days though, like it's not properly renewable yet in my opinion. Von Holden, we can take 4 more bomb test sites and pull up plutonium use it. Well, nuclear is really expensive and takes way too long. I think you haven't kept up with nuclear technology. There's been a lot of advances, and it's more if you could standardize the designs, that takes a lot of the cost out. So, you know, it's more complicated than nuclear of the past. Nuclear has moved forward quite a lot. Fast reactors, have you been in shops that have made 10-liter? Huh? Hang on. Shops wearing 10-liter water bottles as face masks. I have not seen that. Thorium reactors have not been... I'm not talking about nuclear fusion. Like, even just your standard nuclear plant is much more robust than it used to be. But hey, I didn't come here to talk about nuclear either. Dude with a bag on his head, party my... In the long term, nuclear power is super profitable because the fuel is so cheap. Yeah, especially because we've already got it in Australia. Hey, fast reactor is a million times safer than current reactor. Yeah, it's interesting. 10-liter water bottle used to like Darth Vader. That makes me think if there's that UK person who's always running for government or like trying to get elected. What's his name? And he looks like the Dark Knight from the Monty Python one. Is it the Dark Knight or the Black Knight? And like he gets all his limbs chopped off, but he has that sort of bucket head. I think, is it like Lord Buckethead or something? I wish we had politicians like that here, just to like for the amusement. The nuclear bomb fuel. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I don't know. Binhead. Yeah, like that crazy dude. I think that'd be interesting if someone tried that here. Yeah, it's supposed to be a Doctor Who cosplay convention. Yeah, no, this is a guy who just dresses up like Darth Vader with a bucket on his head, and just runs for elections like that. And I think in the UK, when they're announcing the results, they have to have all the candidates on a stage or something, so you always see the buckethead dude there, and like just by law they can't tell him to bugger off. I don't know if that would work here. Dalek, do you make public announcement? Dalek, once you get well. Well, did you see in my community tab? Maybe the previous one I posted the Dalek relaxation tape. Oh my god. But yeah, no, so guys, it's like 11 p.m. I could keep going, but you know, we had daylight savings, so it's the equivalent of like midnight. I should probably go to bed. Because my little brother will wake up in like 5 or 6 hours. Ah! In-house scream, don't do in-house screams. Although I guess like if you're good enough at it, some people get by, but it's supposedly not healthy. 11 p.m. Yeah, it's funny watching the Queensland Fire Service and the New South Wales Fire Service having a little bit of a social media to and fro about daylight saving. Oh god. Well, if I'm 31, then one of the brothers is 29 and the other one is 28. I'm at that age where I actually have to think about it. 3 p.m. Hey, so it's actually not a terrible time for you for a change. I always live stream at a bad time for Europe, I think. See how many. Oh yeah, no, there's a lot of people who are going on holiday ignoring the advice, like, and I'm just like, just stay home. How hard is it? I am going a little bit crazy because there's like so much noise. My brain feels like it's so full of so much noise and I can't like hold on to my thoughts properly, and feeling awkward and all that. But yeah, you can just stay home. Like, there's the internet. If this was like 20 years ago, maybe a bit trickier, but now I've got the internet and you have access to like entertainment and stuff. You don't have to go somewhere. Middle of the day, UK, it's 2 p.m. Cool. Police are sending people back home. Police only go back. How do I pronounce that? Sticks and Hammer made a Die of Corona song. There's been some interesting covers going around. Hey, this is why I put headphones on all day, watch YouTube all day. 2004 MySpace. I never really got into the MySpace. Like, I had one, but I didn't really get into the culture so much. I think I don't really understand what was going on, or didn't really understand what was going on. I was more into, like, RPG forums. The thing is, I think coronavirus, one of the reasons that it's such a big deal is because the world is much more interconnected than it used to be. You know, even 20 years ago, like, was SARS 20 years ago? Almost, hey. Wow, I am super old. Oh, I hate the redesign of MySpace. Like, if they just kept it classic MySpace, would have been fine, but they changed it, and it's just like, No, it's worse than Reverb Nation, which still exists somehow. Oh. Oh, did I? I barely even remember. Like, just I feel like my brain changes too much as I get older, and so like, you know, what I'm thinking changes a lot, and then I don't even remember what I used to be like. You know, I remember bits and pieces, but it just changes too much. And oh gosh, Twitch. I don't have the patience to learn more different websites. I just can't. Um, Corona-chan, haven't heard of it. But yeah, no, life's weird and memory is weird because yeah, like memories kind of help make you who you are, but if I can't remember what things happened way back, like how much have I changed from who I used to be? Like I'm still kind of the same person, but also kind of not in a way, and then we get into this weird sort of existential space where I don't know what's real anymore. 50 of the only you know, it's like YouTube, it's entertainment. Okay. I'm not a fan of the asexual community. I mean, maybe it's just the particular branch that I happen to get involved with, but I found it to be kind of like a toxic environment, where if you didn't agree with a specific set of ideas, you were something phobe, you know? I'm just like, oh my god, like if you tried to say something helpful but it wasn't the right sort of helpful, it's just like a pile on. And I also was watching some arguments between people in different factions or whatever fighting with each other, and I was just like, can't I can't be part of this. Got the love? What? Love 2D wives. Oh my gosh. Yeah, no, I don't think, I think I just don't do well in like communities where we're grouped together based on stuff. Like, I couldn't even do the Pokemon Go thing. You know, like, when I was playing that, you had to get together in a group to try and take down gyms, and I tried doing that, and I'm just like, literally the only thing we have in common is we play Pokemon. I don't really like the people I was hanging out with. I was just like, who even are you? It's just that we happen to be on the same team just because we happen to choose the right thing. We have nothing else in common. Why am I hanging out with these people? And it's a bit like with the asexual community. I'm like, literally, we have one trait in common, and I don't like the culture, and I don't like the obsession with cake. Like, get over it. And the particular color schemes, and like, there's all those cliches. I'm just like, this isn't me. I'd prefer to do things my own way. Shit. Pokemon Go, Lego. Yeah, Pokemon Go. I quit after my mum quit because, you know, there's no point to keep going. She didn't need my help anymore, and I was well bored of it by then. Go solo like Brenton Tarrant. I don't know who that is. Or if I do know, it's not in my memory right now. I really need to cut off all my fucking hair. I'm just like... Like, you know, the whole idea of growing it was because I wanted to be in a band, and I was like, one day a band will be like, we need you to have this image, and if I keep my hair long, I can always cut it, but if my hair's already short, it's harder to grow it out, and now it's too long, but we're heading into winter, so if I cut it all off, I'm going to get cold. On the other hand, because of coronavirus, I'm probably going to be indoors a lot more, but I still don't want to have to wear, like, a beanie, but I have to wear a beanie anyway, because I still get cold. Maybe I should just cut it all off. I don't know, I'm missing comments. Coral color in Lego. Oh, there's 60 gender flags in Lego. Oh my god, how many flags are there? Gosh. He's a New Zealand shooter. Oh, is he? Oh dear, what were we talking about him for? Electric violin. It snowed inside the Aussie Alps yesterday. Yeah, no, there was a bit of snow, hey, apparently, but only like a tiny sprinkle on those mountains. Gosh, the New Zealand shooter, hey? Is that who that is? I haven't been paying attention. I think, like, now that the coronavirus announcements have slowed down, I'm really just gonna sort of try not to pay so much attention. 'Cause it's distracting, and, like, I only really need to know what I need to do. Not worry about everything else. Oh, the shirt? It's a representation of how I feel. They all sort of blur together, huh? What's blurring together? Probably my brain, because it's 11 p.m. So by yesterday's time, it's like midnight. So I'll give you a last chance to chuck me some questions or whatever to throw me off on a tangent, but I'm probably going to wrap this up. At least we had a successful live stream where we didn't get shut off. So I will try and think of like, Twitch. Oh gosh, there's so many shooters. Like, I mean, if you just look in America, there's shootings happening all the time. So, like, take your pick. The Americans only notice if it's really big now. Do you still yeah, I drink a lot of tea. But no, so now that we know the live streams are working, cross fingers they keep working. First person shooter. Oh, I was going to audition, like, there was someone who was trying to start up, like, an IRL zombie game kind of thing, and I was trying to audition as a zombie, but they never got enough funding to actually make it happen. That would have been interesting, like, that sort of first-person shooter game, but, like, with actors. And I think they had, like, little buzz belts so that you know when you're being shot. Very interesting concept, but they couldn't fund it. I don't think you could do it in Australia. You would have to do it overseas. Oh my gosh. I can't do fasting. I just need to eat. I'll give you the rifle on the whole month, 6th of September. I did go shooting once. There's like a shooting range in Sydney, sort of west somewhere. And I actually did pretty well. I think because my hands are steady, or they were steady. That was a while ago. Are my hands still steady? They seem alright. Yeah, like, because you can do try-shooting. Like, in Australia, you can only own a gun if you have a license, but you can go to a try-shooting range where someone instructs you, and that's when I first learned to actually put earplugs in my ears, because before that, I had that paranoia from Animorphs. I have the whole Animorphs collection behind those DVDs, and so, like, you know, for ages, I was just like, I don't want things in my ears, I don't want aliens in my ears taking over my brain. I mean, kind of would be interesting experience, but I was just like, ah. So, yeah, going to that shooting range, had to put, earplugs in, which is good, because then when I go to gigs now, I know, I have a whole box full of Class 5 earplugs that I just carry a bunch around everywhere I go, because being a musician, you want to protect your hearing. I don't know anything about models of guns. Violinist hands always steady. Well, like, if you didn't have steady hands, you wouldn't be able to do certain things. So, you know, correlation, causation. 8 million guns in Australia. There's less of the crazy ones, though. You know, the ones that we banned. I haven't paid attention to a lot of things. But when I did that, so I preferred the pistols, because when we did the rifles, they were sitting on a table, and it was kind of boring, because you can just sort of position it, and then it's easier to hit the shot, whereas with the pistols, that was all freehand, and you have to wait for, like, the little thing to sort of line up in the right way and then pull it, and I did well enough that they're like, hey, do you think you would maybe want to do this as a sport? And I'm like, me doing shooting as a sport? I don't think that's a good idea, for one thing, and then it's, like, so far out west, I wouldn't, you know, I don't have the time to go out there. You have to keep them in a specific way, and then you can only use them in certain places, and it's like, it's too much of a Victorian Boys gun seizure in Victoria. I was supposed to go to a music festival next week, but it got cancelled because of coronavirus. Yeah, so much. Yeah, that's that 1 hour 45-minute interruption we always get. So let me catch up. I was supposed to go to a music festival next weekend, but it got cancelled because of coronavirus. Oh dear, look, maybe when I was heaps angsty, I probably thought about things like that, and it's probably a good thing you don't give guns to angsty teenagers. Do you really want to go to a music festival with corona around? I don't like music festivals anyway, if I'm being completely honest. There's too many people. I like the smaller local gigs, you know. Like, I've been to some bigger gigs. Probably the biggest one I went to that wasn't the Wiggles would have been Disturbed, and yeah, that was just, it was a little bit too many people. I prefer the smaller intimate gigs, like, even if you can't necessarily see those big bands. What? Hey, we're sort of getting into the destroyer part of Destroyer Mariko now, aren't we? And I'm trying to be good. 6 people, crowns, and dungeon music. No, I just like the smaller venues because I don't feel like I'm gonna get squashed. I mean, maybe this is because I'm a small female. I don't want to get squashed. I want to be able to see the musicians on the stage and not have to fight for a good spot. Pretty sure it's I never see much at concerts. Yeah. I mean, there are some local crowds that are a little bit annoying where like people will fight each other and so on, and it's just like, oh my god, do you have to? But yeah, no, I prefer those smaller gigs where you can get like close to the musicians and actually get to know people and that kind of stuff. Yeah, so I haven't been to a big gig in a long time, and I've never been to a festival. It just doesn't appeal to me because like you know, I'm not going to have a good view. I'm going to be watching it on a screen anyway. I might as well stay home, do you know what I mean? And then in terms of sound quality, I like the setup that I've got, particularly in this room. Like I could watch DVDs, for example, in the other room where we've got like a sound system, but I've noticed the bass is a bit out of whack. And so whenever there's dialogue, it's way too quiet. And whenever there's an explosion, it's way too loud. And it's just like, really? So I like the sound that I've got in here. The one thing I will say about a real gig is you can feel the bass more because it is louder. Sometimes too loud, and that's why you gotta wear the earplugs, and sometimes then it's still too loud. You could probably hear it better if they just turned it down a notch. Like I know it's heavy metal, but if you just turn it down a tiny notch, maybe we'd be able to actually hear what's going on instead of a mush, but whatever. No one asked me. I'm not engineering. I gave up the engineering life, so, but yeah, you can feel the music more if you actually go because it is louder. Sometimes too loud, but hey. But the sound quality is better at home and like recorded music. I don't know. Comment on this and stand back and look through people's armpit holes to see the musician. Oh my god, did I tell you about when I went to like a Pokemon event and this would have been Diamond and Pearl. I went to an event and like, you know, you do the battling and so on, but then they were doing a giveaway and I just realized I was in the wrong crowd the moment I had this huge dude come up next to me, lift his hands to try and catch it, and I got like armpit in my face and I was like, I'm out of here. I'm not that much of a nerd that I need to stand around armpits just to get a freebie. Like, come on. DVDs are I like DVDs, but then I have bad eyesight, and also it turns out computer programs that play the DVDs seem to upscale it enough that it's not too pixelated, and my bad eyesight is like, yeah, I can deal with this. Although I think now that I've got a 4K screen, I'm like, maybe I should at least upgrade to Blu-ray at some point. But I'm still doing okay with the DVDs, so hey, benefits of bad eyesight. Another reason I shouldn't be a visual artist, because I can't see. Laptop 7 days a week, only go out anywhere. Yeah, like mostly my life hasn't changed, it's just become a lot more crowded. I think my family's coping alright because we don't go out that much anyway. We're not a very social family, and then also having a disabled kid in the family, we've always had to adjust our living. Like, it's very difficult for us to all go on a holiday at the same time because of his needs. It's very difficult for us to all go out to dinner. Like, you know, you sort of take turns and so on because someone always has to be home. Yeah, so for us, it's not a big deal. But for me, I'm realizing even though I don't go out much, I mean, I was just starting to get back into going to gigs, but even though I don't go out much, it's the noise at home that's annoying me. And that's why I'm spending more time in the garden, because it's quiet there. Apart from when the kids over the fence are playing, but it's quiet and just like... Because my room is in the middle of the house pretty much, so there's always noise going past and whatever. And you can close some doors, but sometimes it doesn't work. Anyway, I'm just got to get used to it. Hey, where am I going stir crazy? Oh, I just sort of answered that. I am going a little bit crazy. That's why I've started watching DVDs. So what have I watched now? I watched The Second Coming tonight. I watched Venom a little bit again. I watched the Jekyll and Hyde with Dougray Scott, and last night I tried to watch the first episode of BBC's Jekyll, but now that I know Moffat's writing style, I just can't uncringe, and so I couldn't even make it through that first episode, which I used to think was pretty good, but now I'm just like, I can't do it. But at some point, I'm sure I'll go through Fight Club and The Mummy, and maybe I'll watch Dexter. Maybe I'll watch Buffy Angel. I like Angel better than Buffy, but, you know, he's in the first 3. So I like to think that Angel was actually an 8-season thing, and who gives a shit about Buffy? Going so crazy. Welcome to Forced Gender Dysphoria. What are you referencing? I'm confused. Did I say something? Have an Indonesian... Oh, okay, have fun. I have no idea what that is. I have 200 kilometers from many other people. Hey. Okay, have fun. Yeah. Well, hey, if you live 200 kilometers from any other people, you should be fine with this coronavirus thing, hey? As long as, like, all the people ignoring instructions to stay home don't take it to all, like, the remote places everywhere. But yeah, no, I think Australia's doing alright. Are we mostly Aussies on this stream? I know Paper Vampire's not. Yeah, anyway. Wow. Yeah, I don't know what that other comment was about. But hey, yeah, I am going a little bit nutty, but I think, was it yesterday or the day before I sort of realized I was going a bit nuts, and so like I mentioned to each member of the family, yeah, like, hey guys, I'm sort of like, you know, all the noise and stuff, I'm just not really dealing so well. Oh yeah, well, like, aren't there provisions for like farmers to shoot, you know, pests and so on? South Aussie. Oh yeah. Yeah. What was I just, like, my brain got distracted again. What was I just talking about? Oh yeah, I am going a bit crazy. Yeah, no, I mentioned to the family, like, guys, my brain, like, the noise and stuff, I'm just sort of not, you know, like, I'm probably going to be a bit grumpy kind of thing. Actually predicting federal... Oh, okay, interesting. Brisbane, yeah. But I think now that I've recognized that I am sort of... Never crazy. Well, I guess crazy is kind of normal for me, hey. But yeah, now that I've sort of recognized that I am feeling a bit like, I can sort of think about things to do. Like, I wrote some poetry the other night, which I don't do as much as I used to, but I'm so close to getting up to number 600, and then I can put out another one of my little dodgy books. I've been thinking of putting my poetry books 1 to 500 into, like, one book, because, like, anytime I've been doing them in groups of 100, but that, you know, obviously the company wants to make a cut on that, and so the price is, like, if you were to buy all of those books at the same time, it's kind of like a big chunk of money in one go, and I'm thinking for people who, you know, haven't been following me progressively, if you want to catch up, it's better off if I can just go 1 to 500, squash them together into one book, and hopefully it won't cost as much, like, you know, the cut that they want to take, we can take, you know, I think when you produce a bigger book, the cost isn't so much, and then, like, you know, one thing of shipping instead of however they do it, and then, yeah, do a 501 to 600. But I used to write much more poetry, and I think it's, like, the last depression that I went through, that would have been, like, mainly 2016, I think I started getting distracted. Still writing my own book. Yeah, go for it. Like, now's a perfect time when the economy is all, like, and, you know, what else are you gonna do? But yeah, no, I think, like, that last depression really, like, changed my brain up. Sorry, my screen's just gone dark. I'm using it as a light source. Yeah, and I just haven't been able to get into writing the poetry in quite the same way. My brain's changed up a little bit in 2016. The depression started at the end of 2015, but, like, 2016 I was sort of, like, deep into it. 2016 is when I quit my job, I quit band, and I just, like, for a few months I wasn't capable of doing anything. And then I signed up for the art degree, and I was doing that part-time initially and just sort of made myself go out more and more and more. But yeah, very difficult time, and I think my brain, because I went through it for so long, I think my brain just, like, got all rewired and so on, and, you know, I got over some of my old anxieties, maybe picked up some new ones. I think that, you know, like, every few years I feel like I go through something, or I just, like, change enough that I feel like a different person, and I feel like that's one of those events that really changed bits about me. Yeah. Where was I going with that? Why was I talking about being crazy? Oh, writing the poetry book. Yeah, no, trying to deal with stuff. I think like that depression, instead of writing poetry like I would have in the past, I spent more time on YouTube watching like Stephen Colbert and all those comedians because 2016, I thought 2016 was a bad year. Because like there was just crazy stuff, but I also wasn't really politically aware at the time because I just hadn't bothered to look it up. So I started watching more like political comedy, which is mostly from one side of politics, but hey, what can you do? Um, and then, yeah, sort of branched out from there. And so I was distracted by YouTube, not just political stuff, like or comedy stuff. I was watching, like, whatever. Like, I probably watched heaps of air crash investigation while before YouTube took them all down. And so I was distracted by YouTube a lot more. And isn't 100 meant to be like the average IQ, like just in general? Like that's why it's 100. So if you're above 100, you're above average. If you're below average. I suppose like not everyone votes though. I don't know. I won't speculate on that 'cause I don't even know if the IQ is a good system. But hey, yeah, no, I think I was just heaps distracted and I haven't really gotten out of that habit of watching too much YouTube. And yeah, I just don't. I'm out of the habit. Once you lose a habit, you know, I'd need to pick up the poetry book regularly, consciously, regularly, to build that habit up again and get into it again. Think so. Oh, what are we referring to? Doesn't matter, people don't vote with their heads anyway. Yeah, no, the way people vote, that's its own psychology study, isn't it? It's interesting. Hey, but we like what other system are we gonna use? It's tricky. Like there's a lot of stuff in the world that's not perfect, but like for example, capitalism is not perfect, but can we think of something better? Capitalism with a sprinkling of like controls around it. I think that's probably the best system, but it's by no means perfect. But it's like, do we have anything better? Not at this point of time. Not really. Yeah, system. One man, one vote. I'm not really sure what that's referencing. Yeah, no, I was talking about going crazy, then I was talking about poetry, and I don't know why. But I guess talking about my brain changing. I guess I don't think as much, like if you're talking about the really crazy parts where destruction and stuff, I'm less preoccupied by that, but every now and then I get a little bit like and that's probably why I'm watching more of those DVDs, because it's just like, how do I deal with those feelings and frustrations? She had to pay taxes before being issued a vote. Oh, okay, interesting. I don't think that'd work today. Taxes. They keep lowering taxes though, so politicians aren't brave enough to raise taxes. Like they talk about trying to get a budget surplus, but if all you do is cut, that's not really. If you really wanted to get a budget in surplus, you cut back on some services and then you increase taxes, but politicians aren't brave enough to do that because they know there'll be a backlash. It's the psychology of it all. You get the government you vote for. Something like in the past, U.S. voters all that is no income tax, petroling. What? Oh my gosh, Adam, you really jump around with some of those topics. Everyone pays taxes on goods here. Most federal spending is waste. Citizens lose 1980 prices. Well, everyone sort of pays taxes on goods here because we have the GST. But then there's also income tax, and like tax gets heaps complicated, and I just don't care enough to really, think about it too much. Yeah. Anyway, I'm pretty tired, so it's like 11:30, and I feel like I've gone on for long enough. What? Oh yeah, we're spending a lot of money on it. it's not just to keep banks working, it's like for, you know, supporting all different parts of the economy. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how things end up. You know, I'm going to have like uni students writing papers on it for years. Electric bill is 3/4 taxes. Oh my god. 50 billion for citizens to eat. Oh well, good thing I'm growing my own food. Hey, government is willing to spend $1.5 billion on maybe when it kills less people than thunder strikes. 600 million. You can argue about like what's being spent and you know who should spend what and you know what's worth it. I mean, like coronavirus is going to kill a lot of people, but compared to other problems, like a lot of people die on the roads and stuff. But I think like we've decided that this is worth putting in these measures, or at least our leaders have decided. Some people will disagree. I've heard some people disagree. I think Scott Morrison actually got quite emotional in one, you know, like to and fro with the media, where like the media do raise the issue of like, why are we spending so much money to save old people? And yeah, ScoMo was pretty emotional in that response, saying like every life matters and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, it is interesting, different parts of society where people are dying, and you know, do we do enough? There'll be a lot of arguments because you've got a lot of stuff to weigh up, and I don't feel like I'm the person to, like, I'm not a politician, so I don't have to make these decisions. All I have to do is, when it comes time to vote, I've got to make up my mind, and usually the candidates that we have here, well, I wait and see who they are, because there's always different independents, and they have different views, so, you know, I decide when the election comes around, I decide who I'm going to vote for, and, you know, look up what they're talking about. What? I reckon you're just saying stuff to rile things up. You know? Everyone's gonna die in the end anyway. You know, if you want to go fully existential with that. I vote for people with a funny name. So now we know how to win your vote. We just need to have a funny name, right? I feel like my brain has maxed out on that comment, so maybe I'll go, but yeah, no, we'll think about, yeah, I reckon you're just saying a whole lot of crap to rile things up, hey. I don't even know, like, how am I supposed to say that? RNA or Roger? Is that a way to say it? Long and funny, oh my god. Do we have any long funny names in Australian politics? I don't know, I think because we're Aussies, we tend to shorten things. So Scott Morrison, we call ScoMo. So even if you had a long, funny name, we would just shorten it to like 2 syllables because we're Aussies. Hey, Danny, I'm actually just sort of thinking of wrapping up. Pension is in Canada, 200 electric bill. Oh, okay. What? Oh, I see. So that when you're watching like official parliamentary stuff, you get the amusement. Yeah, anyway. Okay, so I'm going to ignore the comments for a bit because just get my head around wrapping up this video. But basically, so I'm going to try and figure out my life a little bit. Oh, maybe I was going to post that thing to Patreon. Maybe I'll do that tomorrow. I will think about, you know, like with coronavirus, the way it's disrupting my life in the sense of like my brain going, I'll think about how I can manage my life. I think I mentioned this in the Facebook live stream yesterday, but I'll try and figure out my life, like the things that I need to do or the things that I want to do against like the time that I need to be doing YouTube stuff, whether I live stream or make videos. I'm going to think about that. I think like maybe if I live stream at this later time of day is better because people are asleep. It's just like I don't want to mess up my sleep pattern too much. I have one bonsai shift coming up, so I do need to be able to wake up early enough for that. Then after that, I think maybe I don't have shifts anymore, which is sad. But then I can maybe stay up later and we can chat some more, and I can just fuck up my sleep pattern. But I'll think about it. I don't think I can live stream with people around. I think it's just too weird. So yeah, I'll figure something out. I'll figure out what time I need to even sleep as well, and yeah, keep on top of all the YouTube things. And I'll think I'll, um, oh my god, I'm getting distracted looking at the comments again. So a 24-hour stream, are you insane? No, I wouldn't. Like, it's hard enough to find time right now. Um, ugh. Yeah, no, I've got to figure out my life because I can't live stream while people are walking around making noise. Like, I just feel weird. I'm not up to that point where I feel like I can do it. Um, but I also want to make other videos where I can just concentrate for a bit on a topic instead of getting sidetracked by you guys all the time. So yeah, I'll figure it out. And if I come up with some kind of schedule, maybe NBN holding up and all that, and YouTube not messing up, but if I can think of like a time when maybe I want to live stream, I'll try and give you a little bit more warning. But I have a feeling it's going to be like this time of night, rather than, you know, the middle of the day I used to do, just to get my head a little bit clear. Whether I focus mainly on the weekends. I was originally thinking weekends because during the week people are working from home and I don't want to interrupt that. And you know, I've got my own work from home job, which is drying up a little bit too. But hey, my problems aside, I don't want to interrupt other people doing their work from home stuff by taking bandwidth from live streaming. But if I do it at night, that's not really an issue, so I don't have to stick to weekends, hey. Anyway, I'll try and figure things out, and hopefully I'll like start posting more stuff. I know like some of you guys were waiting for that unboxing of my Alienware, which have been unboxed for ages now. And then that Disturbed cover and some plant-related stuff, which most of you don't care about, but I'm going to post it anyway because you can't stop me. Only YouTube can do that, and I don't think they'll stop me, but... So I'll try and get my life together now that my brain has a bit more space with less announcements. And then I'll try and keep you updated on that. Now, and that's probably all I wanted to say. So I'm working on it. I'm sorry I'm not, like, on top of things at the moment. Let me just catch up on those last comments, and then I think I will go to bed. So where were we up to? Oh, still going on about that Brenton Tarrant guy. Oh, I've scrolled back too far. Invite you to what? 24-hour stream. Yeah, not gonna do that. Mess up sleep schedule. Oh, longest... What? 128 hours? Oh my god. Wow. That's crazy. Yeah, it's... This period of time is going to be like... we are making history right now. One of the things that I find a little bit awkward is like in 10 years' time when like some student is studying all this and like, God help me, they stumble on one of my live streams where I'm like, hey guys, coronavirus. And they'll be like, hey, look at this idiot who was doing this back then. And I'll be like, yeah, put me in your essay. You know, because they'll definitely be looking at like, you know, the role of social media during the coronavirus pandemic of 2020. That'll be the title of someone's essay. God help me if I end up in one of those. I don't have a catchphrase. The live stream? Oh, I don't know that I can invite you. I think YouTube just tries to tell you when I'm doing it. Did I have a catchphrase? I don't think so. Yeah, preserved in academia. Oh gosh, you really love throwing in the things. Yeah, no, that's weird about being a YouTube, because like way back when, I'm sorry to go on another tangent when I just said I was leaving, but we already know that this is how I am. When I used to YouTube like heaps when I was younger, still in my 20s though, I think. Did I start in my 20s? I don't even remember. What is time? Does time mean anything? Yeah, one of my cousins actually, was it my cousin? I think one of my cousins interviewed me about being a YouTuber. Like, I wasn't anyone, I've never been like some fancy YouTuber, but she's just like asking me like, why do I YouTube, and why do I YouTube about the things I YouTube, and like, even at that level, like, people are interested in that kind of stuff, and I'm just like, yeah, so this could all end up, and like, your comments as well could end up in someone's essay one day when they're looking about how did people cope with coronavirus, you know, through the internet, and the role of social media, blah, 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 and blah, politics, and blah, blah, and yeah. So this is one of those major history events, like, it's bigger than September 11, which was kind of the more defining thing of my childhood, I guess. We've talked about that before. I'm not going to get into it. But I'm going to shut up and go to bed. Try and get to bed before midnight. I don't think it's going to happen. YouTube's going to die by then. Well, we'll see. They say we all went mad. It's hard to know with the internet. You also don't know who's downloading all this stuff and where they're preserving it. There's always a chance that we'll just be hit by an asteroid anyway, and then there you go. Who gives a shit, right? Yeah, but we can get into that existential sort of like, what is the meaning of this anyway? Some other time. Hopefully I'm over that though. I kind of want to move on. BitChute and kill it. No, I don't think BitChute will. That's that one that's based on like Bitcoin style technology, right? I don't think that's going to take off enough because you have to have certain kinds of people maintaining it, and there's not enough people interested. Fingers crossed. I'm going to bed. I always feel like I have to do some kind of sign off like you're saying, Adam, but I yeah, no, I'm going to bed. Stop distracting me. You guys are like such bad influence on me.